Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you guys are joining us from. I am Bisma Naushad, and I will be your host for today. I am currently studying in Technical University of Munich and in Germany, and I will be moderating the session. So, first of all, I would like to welcome you in our Powering the Future summit hosted by IEEE Power and Energy Society's Young Professional team. And today's webinar is focusing on how your volunteering journey can help you in your career in future, and it is under the STEP event, that is Student Transition and Elevation Program, that is by IEEE PES. And apart from that, we will be focusing on three different domains and the major ones. One is academia, number two is industry, and number three is entrepreneurship. We have two speakers over here who have joined us, Essen Said from Germany and Melissa Sassi from USA. And Essen will be speaking on the academia domain as to how your volunteering journey within your bachelor's or after you graduate helps you in your academia if you want to pursue your career in that. And Melissa will be focusing on the industrial as well as the entrepreneurial aspects. So let me introduce a little bit about Essen Said. Currently, he is a PhD scholar with the University of Texas at Austin, as in collaboration with Robert Bosch, as well as Technical University of Munich. Apart from that, he has been an IEEE volunteer since 2013, and he had been in IEEE Karachi section in Pakistan. He was the president of NED University of Engineering and Technologies student branch, as well as he has been associated with IEEE Karachi section as he has served as development chair, and he also has an amazing award of being the young professional NGA award by the IEEE R10. So welcome, Essen.
Thanks for the nice introduction, Bisma. And do you want me to share? Can I share the screen so I could present the slides as well?
Yes, sure.
Okay, perfect.
So the floor is yours, Essen.
Perfect. Okay. So thanks once again, Bisma, for the nice introduction. So that would make this slide quite short. So as she mentioned, so I'm doing my PhD in electrical and computer engineering. And basically, it's like a joint venture between academia as well as industry. So we have an industrial partner, which is a company in Germany, Robert Bosch, and we have two universities from academia, which are participating. One is Technical University of Munich, and the other is University of Texas at Austin. And my focus of research is basically to deal with performance issues in heterogeneous cyber-physical systems. So these systems are like the backbone of automotive industry, especially if you're thinking about moving to self-driving cars, autonomous driving. So you will be highly dependent on computation and data-driven approaches, and therefore you will be coming up with lots of performance issues. So that's something which my PhD focuses on, and it deals with machine learning and real-time systems. So before I started PhD, basically, I was doing bachelor's in electronics engineering in NED University of Engineering and Technology from Pakistan. Then I did have some industrial experiences for 3.5 years in different industries, mainly focusing on communication systems. And then I thought of pursuing my master's in electrical and information engineering, which I earned from Technical University of Darmstadt in Germany. So that's a bit quick overview of myself. So when you talk about volunteering journey, I have basically will be touching three different areas. So as a student, and then we will move towards as a professional, and then in the end what more we can do and gain benefits from volunteering in a very global perspective. So sharing the experiences which I had while I was a student. So I personally feel like as a volunteer, one of the key benefit you get is that you really experience the skills and the challenges one will face in real life. And while doing that, you get an opportunity to work in teams. You get an opportunity to really plan and initiate different ideas. You get an opportunity to really think about the finances, how will you execute it, how to write, really writing proposals. And you come across lots of different challenges that could be financial or convincing the team members, like how can we execute this way on the other way. And while you're doing that, the good thing is, like, even if you fail, you don't really have this big risk of failures. That's something which is not usually the case when you are in the professional life. So when you start volunteering as a student, you really get the experience which you're going to use in your professional life. But at the same time, you have the room to really experiment new stuff, and as well as you can try different things. This is something which I personally learned a lot while volunteering as a student. And this actually really helps directly in your professional life, because not everybody, you cannot really do everything at best at first go. So once you get a chance to really experience them and practice them early in your life, which in general is not possible. Obviously, you need to work and then experience. So volunteering actually gives you an opportunity to really polish your skills. That could be presentation skills, communication skills, and as well as working in a team, which is, I feel, is the most important part. Either you're working in academia or in industry, because whenever you're working, you have to work and collaborate with other people. And sometimes it's not always the best scenarios that everybody is agreeing upon certain points. And then you really learn how to come to a point where everybody's interests are meet. Or it could also be that how to negotiate different scenarios, different conditions. And this actually helps you to develop the ability to make different decisions, and on which basis you will be making those decisions. So it's like you learn to have a leadership qualities, as well as develop different management skills at the same time, which actually helps you really grow in your career. Lots of other things which as a student you always think is like what career path you choose or which industries are better for you. Either you go for industry or academia, or you have your own startups. And if you start early as a volunteer, the good thing is like you can really interact with people from different area and career paths. And you can really get an experience. What are their work? What are their professional commitments? What are the ins and outs? And when you get to know these things very early in your life, they basically can help you in making a better decision when it comes to, when you're finishing your education and you really want to decide which career path to choose. So for me as well, when I was volunteering as a student, I was like the chair of the student branch. We were really, trying to come up with different ideas that could help and other students, as well as we were trying to collaborate with other universities. So I remember we had an initiative with another university from another country, from Greece, where we had a joint exchange program where we were trying to work on solving a real problem in a very collaborative way. So that was like a very pilot project, and we were trying to, we were very excited to really communicate and work together with a total different country with a different culture. But it actually helped us to really thought about the whole plan, like how will we gonna execute it, how will we gonna, what will be the milestones in it. So it was like a mock project for us, which really helped to understand the whole flow of executing any idea. And while doing this, obviously, we come across meeting very different people from different countries. And this is something which you can really experience while you're volunteering. So it's not like only you're working with people of your universities, but you can really get a chance to collaborate with people from other countries as well. And this actually directly helps you in gaining lots of exposures. So, for example, as a student, you can gain an opportunity, for example, for an internship opportunity in a company. This could be a direct result if you're volunteering and you are very active. So obviously you could be contact with different industrial partner for marketing purposes, or you might be doing it for the purpose of inviting different speakers. So while doing so, obviously you get a connection with professional people, and this could help you in getting internship as a student, or getting a job opportunity as a professional once you finish your studies. And this is something which I think is also very rewarding from another perspective. Like once you really study and you gain enough exposure, you try to give back to the society. So volunteering also helps you in those areas that if you want to give back to the society, obviously if you do it alone, it would be like lots of efforts. Well, especially if you're a professional, it could be really time demanding to manage all those things. So working with people who are like-minded could really help you in this area, in this mission, where you can work and collaborate with like-minded people, and then come up with a solution which could help the society or the humanity at large. And since this initiative and this session is also about IEEE, so I will also highly recommend volunteering with IEEE itself, even though there are lots of other opportunities which can do it. But I would say, especially like IEEE, you can really go for volunteering with IEEE, as this is like an international society having presence in almost, I think, 160 plus countries in the world. And you can really find their people volunteering for them in every part of the world. So if you really want to like start looking and working in with them, it's like you can find them in nearby university, or from the technical perspectives. You can also find them working on societies that are working and focused on technical areas. So this is also another part where IEEE could be really help in developing your professional career and engaging with other like-minded people. From the professional perspective, what I find personally very interesting was that once you're in the career, you really need to, refine your skills, technical skills, and want to keep up with the pace of the world and the technology in which they are going. And for that, obviously, you really need to keep on going and learning new things and stuff. So IEEE could really help you in achieving those goals. For example, if you are interested, for example, in machine learning, just an example, or for example, autonomous driving or embedded systems. So there are like focus groups, societies, which are focus have been in this area. So you can get connected with them, and this was obviously will help you in getting more direct knowledge in these areas. So for example, I'm working on machine learning and real-time systems. So for me, these focus groups are really helpful in getting more opportunities and exchanging ideas. And one more thing is that if you're looking into the area of academia, especially, so I think everybody knows and well aware of the IEEE conferences. So if this is something which IEEE is, I think, really known for. So myself, I for the first time when I heard about IEEE, it was actually through the conference. So I remember while we were in bachelor students, so we wanted to publish our work, and the conference obviously was sponsored by IEEE. So this is where my awareness about IEEE was started. And so if you really want to, work in academia, IEEE could really help you in the sense that you can start by volunteering as a student or as a professional. It doesn't matter, but obviously as early, it's the best. And then you can focus on having these technical groups or societies and get engaged with them. And in this way, you can actually get to know, first of all, the peoples who are working in those areas, which is obviously very important, and what are the latest trend in these areas. And so this would also help you in selecting the programs if you want to choose, for example, for higher studies, for example, for masters. So because typically if you're applying for masters, you need to be very focused. And for that, this would actually help you directly in selecting the career path you want to choose. So, for example, for me, I personally like machine learning a lot. So I was like taking lots of sessions online, and also I was participating physically in workshops. And in that way, I was able to really see whether these fields could help me, or is it something which doesn't align with my interest. So this is something like you can really try to experience it by volunteering or getting connected with these technical societies. One more thing which I think is very important is that when you're doing volunteering, it's not only about like um, ideas and technical knowledge and informations, but also is help you to actually explore and meet different peoples. So one of the key benefits about this IEEE society or volunteering is like you get a chance to meet people from different backgrounds. And so, for example, when I was student, and then I was volunteering for professional activities later on. I remember I got an opportunity to actually visit different countries as well from IEEE, and these experiences was obviously really developing your personality, your thinking, how different culture coexist, how to coexist with different countries. So you start basically from a university as a volunteer, and then you can really grow yourself professionally from technical perspective. But you can also, while doing so, you can also get an opportunity to basically interact and meet people from different countries. And this is something where I think lots of people really want to make a difference in the world. And while they're doing their job, it's sometimes I think it's like they don't find an answer to it, like how they can really do it. So I personally find that doing voluntary, there is something more you can do, which is something satisfying and something you feel like giving back to the society. Um, so it's like a very volunteering is like, it's also something like you have to choose what is your preference. So if you want to like do some technical projects on a voluntary basis, or you want to shape your career professionally, or you want to proceed more deeper knowledge technical from a technical perspectives, volunteering could actually help you achieve these goals. And what I personally feel is that while you do volunteerism, you actually get to know really, the variable value of this volunteerism is that you really get to know people and get to know new people and get connected with them. And this is something I think which is the most important part as a human being, that you really need to communicate with other people, and you really find the need to connect and work together as a team. Because if you really want to work and make a difference, you cannot really do it alone. You have to work and collaborate and start expanding. And for that, I think networking is something very helpful, which you can get actually as you're a volunteer.
Um,
Eh,
Essen, if you don't mind, can I ask you a question? Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you first of all for sharing your experiences and guiding us through. So, this webinar is not only focused on students, but it is also focused on the young graduates. So, the students who
Mhm.
are now graduating and who are in their first year. So, as you mentioned about how IEEE helped you in enhancing your career skills and your knowledge in your the domain of your interest. So, can you also share that how IEEE or volunteering in IEEE helped you to get where you are right now? Like, how did you get the opportunities and everything, if you would like to?
Sure. Very specifically, if I mention, I remember like there was actually an IEEE session happening in our university where there was a technical session by one of the speakers who were working on communication systems and FPGA. So I remember like I was really much, you can say, inspired by the work which they are doing. And so this was like a starting point, and I remember through that connection I then later contacted that company, and they were like an external for my final year project. And from that, actually one thing led to another, and that enabled me to actually land into my first job after completing my bachelor's, which was with the same company. So this is something which I think directly helped me through attending those sessions and volunteerism. Obviously, while doing it, it also helped me when I was thinking and working inside the company. One of the things very important is that how to organize yourself.
Mm,
And I think this is something which it's very hard to do, like, about your schedule, and you have lots of things to do, and how can you really, fix them into your 24-hour time. So this is something which I also learned a lot from the volunteering, that how you manage extracurricular activities while you're also a student. And the same thing actually helped me in the career wise, because when I was studying, I was also planning how to apply for higher studies, for masters. And also I was looking for people I know who are studying on those universities.
thank
So
you, Essen. Sorry
so this is
again.
something which
Mhm.
was really
For
connected with
mentioning this,
volunteers, right?
yeah, because this was my next question. That how did it, like you mentioned, that volunteering in IEEE and you were networking as well, so that's how you landed your first job. But right now you're doing PhD in collaboration with one of the top universities as well as the one of the best companies worldwide. Apart from that, you did masters as well. So how did IEEE help you with that?
So I will rephrase it like how it volunteering help you in it. So that's more meaningful for me. So basically, it's like once you were doing like I was doing my master studies, and then I was like looking for opportunities for higher studies and PhDs. So when I was doing volunteering, I came across people who were also doing PhD, or they were professionals. And then through these networks, obviously, I was able to ask questions. I was able to get an insight, like how the PhD life is about, and what are the different requirements, and what are the expectations. So all these questions I was lucky to get them answered because I already have people who are studying in those universities through volunteerism. Obviously, if you contact somebody, I think through LinkedIn, it's a bit hard to really get insight. But through volunteering, actually, this is, I think, gets much easier to really contact and you know ask more questions.
Okay, so Essen, there is a question. How much reference works in your career life? Because what networking is all about making references.
How much references help? Okay, that's good. I mean, I would say references obviously helps, but references only helps if you are also deserving. So that's, I think it's very important, right? So you obviously need to be deserving, and then references could, knock door or enable you to get an interview. But after that, obviously, it's all up to you. How do you act in those scenarios in the
And
interview?
like you mentioned that you were able to attend conferences or workshops in your particular field, so that's why you will recommend people to um, keep on being a member of IEEE, because they can get a lot of discounts as well as awareness and be a part of different groups.
Yeah, definitely. As I mentioned, like the IEEE have societies, like this session is also being organized by IEEE PES, which is a Power and Energy Society focus
Mhm.
group. So obviously, being connected with these societies help you to grow your technical knowledge and keep up with the current pace. You know, these days, I think you really need to be up to date. Otherwise, it's very hard, career and professional wise, to grow.
Exactly.
So,
Thank you very much, Asen. And
welcome.
everyone, we will get back in the question answer session again. And now I would like to, um, yes. So, guys, this is our second speaker. She is Melissa Sassi. Let me introduce a little bit about her. So, she is currently Dr. Melissa Sassi. She has completed her PhD, and she is Chief Penguin of Tech Startup Changemaker, and she is a startup acceleration advisor, digital inclusion advocate, youth empowerment enabler, and she has been associated with IBM since
January 2019.
2019. And I'm sorry, I don't
No,
remember.
don't worry.
So, everyone, she will be focusing more on industry and entrepreneurship. So, Melissa, the floor is yours.
Super. Before I jump in, thank you very much, Vesma, and everyone who is here today for having me. My name is Dr. Melissa Sassi, and I head up student and entrepreneur experience globally within the IBM Z division of IBM. So I have the wonderful opportunity of working with both students and entrepreneurs. I'm also an entrepreneur myself. I have my own youth-led nonprofit called Mentor Nations, and we have enabled tens of thousands of young people to code in 12 countries. So we have a co-working space, a robotics lab, and an IoT lab. I found my passion, my life's work through volunteerism. So let me talk to you a little bit about how I did that. And I'm going to give you kind of a checklist of how you can take volunteerism and kind of propel your career forward, if you will. So let me just share my screen. All right, Bisma, can you see my
Yes, yes, I
okay.
can.
Oh, this is hold on. I got the wrong presentation. Give me one
It's
second.
okay, no problem. Everyone, please keep your comments coming. Any questions that you have, we will be having question and answer session after Melissa's session.
All right, perfect. So this actually is the right presentation. For those of you on Twitter, you can find me at Mentor Africa with a K, and we're going to talk about how you can volunteer to propel your purpose-driven career. So let's jump in. Really, my purpose and passion is kind of surrounds around things like technology, entrepreneurship, digital skill building, uh, empowering women and girls. I believe in being an and not an or, and that means I'm a founder and CEO. I'm an intrapreneur, meaning I'm innovating inside of someone else's company. I came from Microsoft before IBM. I also did two stints on Wall Street. I'm an avid speaker within circles such as the United Nations and the World Economic Forum. I am also a volunteer for IEEE, and IEEE is really what fuels my passion and has fueled my passion and enabled me to get a number of different jobs in my life. I am the chair of the Digital Skills Working Group within IEEE. I'm also an academic, so I do a lot of academic writing, and I have my PhD, which is in the field of international business, but my research focuses on the digital inclusion of underserved and underrepresented communities, and the tie that access, skills, and utilization have when it comes to creating outcomes such as economic empowerment, educational or quality education, good health and well-being, so on and so forth. So let's just think about this from the beginning. I believe in making the impossible possible. And I also believe that you are the only one standing in between the current you and the future you. So the good thing is, if there's somewhere that you want to be, you're the only one who's stopping you from being there. So if I think about this checklist of how do you get to where you want to be by using volunteerism, the first thing you need to do is figure out what your vision is. Again, I believe in being an and not an or. That means if you're interested in, electrical engineering and fashion, or you're a software developer and also interested in music, I believe that you should explore all of these things together. There's no definition of what an engineer is, what an engineer should be. We all have many different passions and interests. Whether those are nonprofit endeavors or things that are directly linked to industry and our field. And I think that as you're thinking about what your vision is, or who do you want to be and where do you want to go in your career, imagine the wild duck in you, meaning how can you be different and unique and creative and innovative, a creator, a maker, and a doer, empowered by technology and not just a consumer of technology. I think it's also important to think about your passion. Do you have one? Is there, a UN Sustainable Development Goal, or are there goals that you are passionate about? Are there ones that wake you up in the morning? For me, I'm passionate about quality education, gender equality, decent work and economic growth, as well as reduced inequalities. There are pieces of 9 that I'm also passionate about. Those are the things that wake me up in the morning. Now, all of these things are big, wicked challenges, and I think they're all things that need to be solved, but a few of these really speak to me. And so I think the best place to start when it comes to volunteering is, figuring out where do you want to go and what are your passions all about. So that you can identify organizations or startups. Because when you say volunteerism, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to go out and volunteer for a nonprofit, whether that's IEEE or others. It could be that you go and volunteer with a startup that is actively working on advancing, some of these goals or one of these goals that speak to you. So I think step 2 is really about documenting your skills and experience gaps. So we talked about what's your vision and what are the skills that you don't have to reach your vision. That means you've got to be a learn-it-all. You've got to be a lifelong learner. You've got to be on a path to learn new things. As you're volunteering, you should be learning things, okay? You want to find kindred spirits, those people around you, or your Thrive Hive, as I like to call it, people that enable you to be your best self. And you have to be willing to invest. You're not going to fill those experience and skills gaps if you don't invest, if you don't focus on learning, and if you don't find people who you're able to surround yourself around, who will help to enable you, empower you, give you a seat at the table. The step 3 is really about giving yourself space and time. You're not automatically going to, be in a place where you've got all the skills that you need to have. And again, I think as Ahsan shared, volunteering is a wonderful kind of like risk-free place to test your skills, to gain practical skills. And these things can be put down on your resume. And we'll talk about how I volunteered and added those things to my resume and what that created in my life in a second. Practice mindfulness. Give yourself the time to think and reflect on, where do you want to go? What are your skills? What are you lacking? What are you good at? What do you need to demonstrate to be able to land that big job that you want to land? You've got to prioritize and organize. You're not going to be able to achieve everything day one. So kind of prioritize, what do you want to learn? What do you want to get out of your, volunteer endeavor? And again, how do you capitalize upon your superpowers, your strengths, and organize yourself around that? So, I've got this to bring to the table. Here's what I want to get out of this. And the next thing is kind of your traditional project planning, so create a plan to fill in your gaps. You've got to own your path. No one's going to own it for you. You've got to own it. You have to establish goals and a timeline. And I recommend taking baby steps. If you want to move into a project management role, in a role where you are in academia, or a role where you come in as a product manager, or a developer, a programmer, a systems admin, whatever it is that you want to do, figure out what skills do you have now, what can you demonstrate through practical experience, and how can you build your CV through volunteerism so that you've got a solid plan to say, here's where I am, here's where I'm going, and here's how I'm going to be able to gain access to those skills by volunteering. So what are the 5, 10, 3, whatever the number is, skills that you want to have by the time you have reached, 3 months with that organization, or 6 months, or a year, or whatever it is. So you are constantly focused on demonstrating to future employers, or to yourself, or to those around you, that you have practical skills and experience that you've gotten through volunteerism. You want to go beyond your everyday. And that means taking on stretch assignments, stretching yourself beyond where you think you feel comfortable going, not being afraid to take calculated risks. And as I mentioned, that means volunteering with a startup, or giving forward with or to nonprofits or NGOs. If you're passionate about one of the things I mentioned, you could do research around, what startups are working in those particular UN Sustainable Development Goals, or which NGOs or nonprofits, or, who is actively working in, a company, in a nonprofit, where you look at that and say, oh, I would love to do that job. I would love to work in that field. Who's doing the thing already, and how can you build connections with that person, or that company, or that nonprofit or NGO that's already doing the thing that you want to do. You want to gather your Thrive Hive. So this is your group of people who are your sponsors, your mentors, your friends, and you want to seek bite-sized insights. So you want to ask them, hey, how do you think I'm doing? What do you think I'm missing? You're in this job already. How can I, use volunteerism to get me the skills that I need to land a job like yours? Don't forget that you've got to reciprocate. If you're asking for help from your Thrive Hive, or your group of supporters, or friends, or mentors, mentees, how do you also reciprocate and be a friend? How can you help empower them or enable them with something that they may need help with, where you have the ability to help them? Next, it's important for you to document your journey. If you're going to use volunteerism to showcase that you have practical experience, demonstrate that, document it, talk about it in social media, write a blog, share a video, have your own personal website, build your personal brand so that people can actually see that you're working on this issue, so that when someone Googles you, like a future boss, a future colleague, your future, manager of your internship, or your next career choice, build your personal brand so people connect you to whatever it is that you want to do, in your career. You want to be present online and offline. And that means taking part in events, raising your hand, and networking, building your network. A lot of your, future job opportunities and your promotion opportunities, it comes through your network. It comes through demonstrating your personal brand and being present, above and beyond the work. Most importantly, you have to do the thing. Whatever that thing is, do the volunteer work. Take it on. Do it in bite-sized pieces. It could be 1 hour a week. It could be 10 hours a week. Think about what you have time for and make time for it. It will benefit your career, whether you are still in school, fresh out of school, or you have 20 years of experience. Ultimately, you want to create, and you want to make, and you want to do whatever that thing is that you've set out to do. So volunteerism changed my life. It helped me discover my life's work, which is all about enabling youth to learn about computer science and think about the tie that has to economic empowerment. It helped me land a new job. I applied for a new job at Microsoft, and I got the job based on the volunteer experience that I added to my CV. Who did I volunteer with? IEEE. It took me on a new career path. So it not only led me to my new job at Microsoft, it brought me to IBM in another role as the global head of student and entrepreneur experience worldwide. I became a thought leader. I started to write and speak and take part in a lot of different events on both entrepreneurship and digital skill building for youth and students. And it led me to being recognized as a worldwide thought leader in the field, where now organizations like the IEEE, like Microsoft, like IBM, like the World Bank, the UN, and many other organizations now reach out to me to say, hey, can you come in and teach us about this topic or that topic? And I've created kind of my own narrative, my own personal brand, capitalizing upon my volunteerism. So I hope you'll join me to empower students in STEAM. I hope you'll join me to inspire entrepreneurs on their journey. Again, you can find me at Mentor Africa with a K. In case you're interested in my work, you can find more about my startup program, where I have 100 startups in my portfolio here at ibm.biz/HPA-2021. If you're a student, if you're an educator, and you want to be involved in learning new skills, seeing some of the things that I'm teaching, enabling, and empowering, you can join us here at ibm.biz/student hub. For every student who joins the student hub, I'm going to feed one child for the day. So put your Tech for Good chops to work and join our student hub, because I'm donating money to the World Food Program through their Share the Meal campaign. What can you get from the Student Hub? You can learn new skills, you can win prizes, you can build your network and give forward. If you're not a student, there's a lot of opportunities here to learn new skills and build your network. It also enables you to give forward. So again, you can find me at Mentor Africa with a K. I look forward to connecting with you and talking further about my work, about volunteerism in general, or whatever else might be of interest to you. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer your questions now, Besma.
Thank you very much, Melissa. It's always great to hear you. And I didn't know about your funding in World Food Program regarding it.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Even I will sign up.
yeah, please do. And if you perform an act of advocacy, which is if you post a discussion question in the Student Hub after you join, or if you write a blog, we'll feed 2 children for the day. So if you're interested in Tech for Good and want to give forward, those are 2 opportunities to do so. We also have a student contest that's live right now, where we're giving away thousands of dollars in prizes, and you can find out about that on the Student Hub as well.
Thank you very much, Melissa.
Thank you.
Again. And I would like to thank both of our speakers, amazing speakers, who taught us that we should be initiators, and how volunteering helps us with that in coming up with new ideas. Essen also mentioned about volunteering across borders, like his initiative with Greece, and how Melissa and Essen both just now mentioned about how they are contributing to the society through volunteering, and how being a part of IEEE helps in technical skills. And Melissa just mentioned that we are able to mention, or you can say, describe more on our CV through volunteering. Through IEEE, you get more chances to show how good you are in different domains. This is why I would like to ask you, what do you think? How much IEEE or volunteering helps you to stand out among all of the applicants? What do you think is the main vital thing in it?
Do you want me to take that first, Ahsan, and then you want to go next?
Sure.
So for me, I didn't realize that I was such a great program manager, project manager, public speaker. I never really done any public speaking. I mean, I'd led projects. I presented in school or university and work settings with a small group of people. When I joined my work, when I started volunteering at IEEE, I got asked to be a speaker at an event, and I had never, I'd done a couple of speaking engagements before, but and I saw that I had good, good audience engagement, but IEEE gave me space and an opportunity to practice my public speaking skills, and they gave me a platform. And so I started to like network with a lot of different people. And so what I found was I I was able to kind of document a whole bunch of like thought leadership kind of stuff on my resume. Like, oh, I've spoken at this event, I've run this event, I've organized this event, I've contributed to this white paper. Things that were very outward facing. And if you think about it, IEEE, is, one of the, is the largest engineering organization on the planet with 400,000 or so members worldwide. It brings a lot of prestige and stature with it. And so when they can see that you're a chair, a co-chair, an organizer of an event, or you're on a committee, it brings stature to your resume. And it makes people think like, oh, okay, like this person's been vetted by the largest engineering organization on the planet. I got to pay attention. And I think that's one thing. I think the second thing is the network that it brings you. So for example, I put that stuff on my resume. And when I applied for the job, before I applied for the job, I knew that the hiring manager knew 3 or 4 of the people I had been working with at IEEE. And so what I did is I contacted those 4 people and I said, hey, can you reach out to this hiring manager, Paul? Can you reach out to Paul and write a letter of recommendation for me? And can you reach out to Paul just on your own? I've taken the liberty of drafting a letter. You can modify it. You can do what you want. I hope you'll help me. And you know what? They all did. They all helped me. They all wrote letters to Paul. I was like 4 or 5 different letters. And I got the job because he was like, wow, look at this network that Melissa has. And you know what? I didn't have any experience working in a job, the job that I was applying for. My experience in the, before that was very different. And so I was able to pivot my career from one position to the next by volunteering with IEEE. I got practical experience, I got a network, and that network was willing to be active advocates for me and do it in an outward fashion where they were literally, asking the hiring manager to hire me. And he did. So there you go.
Wow, I didn't know you had such amazing contacts. So, Essen, would you like to contribute a bit about it as well? How
Okay, I guess
you have
so.
stand out?
Melissa has like very wonderfully summarized lots of different aspects of it. So I think I will just give a small tip to like anybody who's volunteering and expects that it could help in the resume. So I would definitely say not to write just I'm a member of IEEE for sure. So this won't help, but obviously what you learn through volunteering, that's something, obviously, the skill sets you should definitely mention. And for sure, it will stand you out for other people who have no such experiences. And for example, here in Germany, I mean, volunteerism is highly regarded as a noble stuff. So I mean, I think it's the same for anywhere else. So I think you should definitely write it, and it will help.
Okay, so my next question would be like Melissa and Essen just mentioned earlier, that how they were able to network and make contacts within industry. So, how volunteering makes you a humble person? Can you guys shed a light about on this? On this,
Can you repeat the last part of your question? How can volunteering, and then I missed the last part. I'm
how,
sorry.
how volunteering makes you humble?
How it makes you humble. I think for me, it made me realize that there are a lot of things that I have access to in my world that I take for granted. And I didn't realize before doing my volunteerism that 48% of the world is not connected to the internet. I just didn't know. I didn't know this stat. I didn't know this figure. And it was mind blowing to me. I think many of us who have a a mobile device, or we have a computer, or we know how to code, or we're highly technical, we kind of take advantage, and we just kind of expect that everybody else around us has the skills, the digital skills to be safe and secure online, to know what you should share and not share, and to know what to do about a cyber bully, for example. But a lot of these things I realized that I'm a lot more skilled than I realized, and there are a lot of people around me who significantly lack in digital skills. And I think that made me humble in a few ways of recognizing that I I wasn't as thankful as I should have been for the things that I had, and I had to kind of take 10 steps back and think, because I was born where I was born and grew up in the family that I grew up in, I was already set up in a privileged place, and I didn't recognize all of that. I didn't appreciate, um, the things that I probably did not have to go through that others have to go through every day. And we hear a lot about that, you know, um, not only in my country, the United States, but all across the planet. My daughter, for example, she is half Tunisian, and so she's got an Arabic name, and she also, her hair is dark, her eyes are dark, and she's like, "Mom, I feel like sometimes people are harder on me, and people judge me because of my name, and they ask me questions that I think are rude and don't make any sense." And I didn't know how to answer her the other day of like, "I'm sorry, Zahra, you're going to face people who are not going to understand." And I think that it's made me humble in a few other ways by recognizing that there are inequalities around the world, and how can those of us who are in a position of power bring others up and empower and enable others around us versus being part of the problem. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but those are kind of some of the I don't know, rumblings in my head that I was thinking about when you asked your question.
Okay, that's a very beautiful question because you mentioned about different experiences which made you more humble because uh, like Essen also mentioned before that uh, through connectivity we get to know people from different cultures and different backgrounds, and until unless we do not have the awareness we feel everybody is as privileged like us, but
Yeah,
unfortunately
I
they are
mean,
not.
I've had an opportunity to visit a lot of countries. I've been to 55 countries in my lifetime so far, and I hope to visit 100 by the time, I don't know, whatever that time is. It's one of the goals that I have. And what I found is by living in other countries, volunteering with local NGOs, local nonprofits, local startups, you really understand kind of a local perspective, and you also recognize that, you know, you're not the smartest person in the room, nor should you
Hmm,
be. And, it may not be up to you to bring a particular solution or service to a particular market, but really, what can you do to share your skills forward so that they can create that local grown solution that's right for that local country in that local market? And that's, kind of, it's taught me a lot about how do you communicate across cultures. I was in Pakistan 3 times in 2019, for example, and I learned a lot. I thought I knew, so much about, the country because I'd worked with so many people and collaborated with so many people. And there were so many things that I just realized. And, I made some mistakes along the way, said some dumb things, tried to shake the wrong person's hand, but you learn from that as you experience, you know,
exactly.
life. So
True. Like you said that through experiences we learn, and that's the truth. So, Essen, I would like to ask you one question. That why should people continue volunteering even after their graduation, after their bachelor's? Would you like to say something about it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think as long as you are alive, you have a need to excel in your life and have. Oops, sorry, it
No
fell
problem.
off. That's happens when you're alive. Okay, yep. So I guess as far as you're alive and you want to do something for the society and want to excel in your career, I think this is a never ending circle, so you cannot really work once and then the rest of the life do nothing. So as long as you want to thrive forward, you really need to stay connected with volunteerism. And as I mentioned already earlier, it will definitely help you to excel career
Yes.
wise.
I'm
Yep.
sorry to interrupt again, but the thing is
Sure.
that a lot of times people say that we prefer our job over volunteering. So, would you like to mention,
Mhm.
would you like to say something regarding this? That not leave the job in that. Melissa, I have another question for you. So yeah, Essen.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, I think especially in the start of your career, I think it's a bit hard to really, have extra time. So I think it's totally fine. It's not like you should always be doing it, and it should be your first priority. Obviously, in the start of the career, you have lots of new things to learn, and you have a new experience in the professional circle, and then you are trying to adopt it, and perhaps you are looking for other opportunities. So doing that, obviously, it could be a bit a patch of time where you couldn't really do it, but it's like more like in general, you shouldn't like quit it. It's like an extra effort. So for example, you go to gym, it's not like you go to gym one day and then you get a benefit out of it. It's like a culture you develop, a habit you develop. So I would take volunteerism as a habit rather than an activity you do it. So it's a way of thinking. And it's just like in your schedule of a week, you try to spend some time devoting for these extracurricular and volunteerism. So that's
Well,
what
I
I
think it's
think like
just
that.
like any hobby. If you've got something that interests you, that you're passionate about, you got to have, it's kind of like you just have to find some time, even if it's 1 hour a week, you know, or a half an hour a week. Think about what's possible for you. And I understand if let's say are a working mother, you've got kids, you have to look after your home, you've got like all these things that you need to do, and you're kind of like, wait a second, I don't know how to make time. I can't even do the things I need to do. What I've
But
done is,
Melissa,
oh yeah, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt, but the thing
No, you're
is,
fine.
usually, as soon as students start to graduate, they think it's better that I spend time on searching for a job or starting a new job rather than, continuing volunteering.
Be
That's
an and, not an or. You do not have to trade those things. You can do both at the same time.
exactly.
This is something I'm trying to teach my daughter right now. Of you can study and you can work at the same time, and here's how you can do it. You can look for a job and volunteer at the same time. You don't have to trade those things off. Think about it as investing in practical experience while making the world a better place.
Mhm. So, Melissa, the last question for you is
Yeah.
this: that, like you mentioned about entrepreneurship, there is a very important question that how volunteering has helped startup companies or entrepreneurs in getting sponsorship. So, what would you say about it?
Yeah, for me, it helped me fuel my life's work. It helped me recognize what my life's work actually is, and it also helped me recognize that I identified a problem, I identified a solution that could work through my volunteerism, and I went out and started my own company.
No,
Because
my specific question is this: that how being a volunteer helped you in gaining a sponsorship for your startup business, or how
yeah,
can it help people?
I mean, I think it gives you stature. It gives you a network. For me, I had a network of people who were interested in the topic. And so I had people who would guide me along the way of, oh, here are organizations that you can look to for funding. And here are some ways that you could go about asking for, that funding, for example.
And
That's
also,
how I did it.
while you're a volunteer and you are new in the entrepreneurship culture, so do the organizations which are sponsoring regard this highly, or how it goes?
I think it's important. Yeah. And I think that, I don't think entrepreneurs are just automatically born. There's certain elements of being an entrepreneur that you're, born having certain elements and characteristics, but other things, just like any other skill, it's learned. And, sometimes these are things that you can't learn from a textbook. You have to learn by doing. And volunteering is a wonderful risk free way of building your skills, whether that means entrepreneurial spirit, professional development skills, or technical skills. But you're
Okay,
also hopefully making the world a better place at the same time. So you can wake up and say,
exactly.
oh, I'm building my career or helping me to become an entrepreneur. I'm building my skills. Oh, and I'm helping to make the world a better place. And that feels nice when you wake up in the morning to say, oh, okay, I'm doing good work because I'm helping make the world a better place. It feels good. And we all need more things in our lives that feel good.
Exactly. Thank you very much, both of our speakers. We learned a lot from you, and I would like to mention a few things. Some people have sent the questions in regarding volunteering in IEEE Power and Energy Society specifically. So, how can they be active? So, you can volunteer in your student chapters, IEEE PES chapters. If not, in your PES section. If not, then there are different competitions going on. Melissa mentioned about it regarding sustainable development goals, and if you cannot find it within IEEE, you should also volunteer in different organizations. But I have to mention a few things that IEEE PES offers renewable energy school program in which they are also focusing on education as well as in sustainability and everything. And then we have humanitarian activities committee as well, a site group is special interest on humanitarian technology. So there are very diverse programs within Power and Energy Society, so you can work on those as well. And apart from that, if you have any question, you can always reach out to, I believe, Melissa, Essen, and to me as well regarding volunteering. And thank you very much, Essen, as well as Melissa, for your time and for guiding us through. It is always a pleasure to
Thank
have
you.
some motivation from you. And everyone, with this, our event is coming to an end. I would like to thank you all for joining in and have an amazing day.
Thanks a
Bye.
lot. Bye
Bye. Thank
bye.
you.
You bye.